Hello, Global Theater. My name is Gerry Fialka. Today is, whoops, I didn't write it down, February 3rd, 2026. And I want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast. I'm probably wrong about everything. Please subscribe. Also want to thank Jeff Cohen for inviting me, for introducing me to today's guest, Peter Raymont. Where are you calling from, Peter?
I'm in Toronto, Canada.
How cool is that? First question is
the Great White North.
the Great White North. First question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
Oh, wow. What a question. Love.
That's the answer I get the most, and I agree. What is your favorite form of information? How it comes into
everybody needs to be loved, and everybody wants to love,
Yeah, well, that's Nature Boy. Guy who wrote that song for Nat King Cole was right here from Venice, California. Eden Abbes. He says the greatest thing you'll ever learn is to love and be loved in return.
That's true. I agree with that.
What's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
I guess film.
Yeah.
I'm a filmmaker, and I watch a lot of films, and I love film because it's more than one form, right? It's music, and it's images, and it's sound, and it's emotions, and it's all together, beautifully woven together.
I agree. We're on telephone worldwide right now, so it is a form of cinema. 130 years cinema's age, not very long. So why do you think humans collect or gather information?
Why do we what? I'm sorry.
Why do you think humans collect or gather information?
Well, we're social beings. We want to share. We gather information for knowledge and for, to become better people, to become more intelligent, and to share with others.
I like both those themes. That's really what I do, and I appreciate what you being concise and articulate. So is this need or want to collect information more innate or more invented?
Oh, I think it's innate. I think we all have that deep in our DNA as social animals.
Do thoughts create emotions?
Sure. Absolutely. All the time. Yeah. And emotions can create thoughts too.
Yeah. Fill in the blank, Peter. I don't know what I think until I
try it.
Try it. I never get that. McLuhan said, I don't know what I think until I say it. Joan Didion says, I don't know what I think until I write it. That's rare. I never get that. Try it. Can humans think without language?
Yes, I think humans can think without language. Absolutely. My son, near the end of my late wife's life, and she was sadly dying of breast cancer, I'd come home and find my son and Linda Lee curled up together, and he said, we spoke without talking.
Oh, that is beautiful. Dude, I am for anecdotes, stories, tangents. You don't have to answer the questions. This is really fun. So Chomsky says language is not just words. It's a culture, tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. Peter, what do you do when language doesn't work? When language breaks down, what do you do?
There's a lot of language that's broken down now, I think, especially in the United States, sadly. Well, I don't know. You can sing. Sometimes that helps. Create music. That's a different type of language altogether. It affects different parts of the brain. I'm glad you're referencing McLuhan and Chomsky. Those are two of my heroes.
Well, that's funny. There's a cliche that goes, if you can't say it, sing it. And if you can't sing it, dance it. And just saying sing from a filmmaker, that's an amazing verb to use. I appreciate that. But Peter, your observations of humans in general, are we more thinking beings or more feeling feelings?
Well, different people are different, but I think in our hearts we're more of a feeling type of being. But we're both. I mean, it's a mix. It's a we, right?
Well, we invented these words, feeling and thinking, so we think we can separate them, but you can't. That's in. But Bridget Bardot says, "When I make love, I don't think," and I'm like, "Good luck. How do you turn your brain off?" And people who meditate go, "Okay, now think about not thinking." And then there's a bumper sticker on a car on my street. It goes, "Don't believe everything you think." And I'm like, I said, well, you could say, "Don't believe everything you feel."
Well, it's like if you want to send a message, call Western Union. You know that. I don't know. Is that Louis B. Mayer?
Yeah,
The Canadian, the great Canadian who made it big in the United States. But yeah, so it's both.
Yeah.
But film is an emotional medium first and foremost.
It's good. Good to hear. These are two from Alan Turing in the 50s. One, is thinking a function of the soul?
Oh, wow. Alan Turing. I don't know. I have to ask Alan Turing for people smarter than me.
Yeah, but Peter, this is more like your hunch or your guess. What would you say? Is thinking a function of the soul?
No, I think feeling is a function of the soul.
Yeah. The second Turing question is, can machines think?
Well, they're becoming more and more capable of thinking. AI type machines. Eventually, perhaps they'll think like as we do. But at this point, no, I'd say no, they don't. Thank God.
Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
Oh my God, Gerry. The meaning of happiness. I think I pursue meaning, and then happiness is a result, you know.
Yeah, well, I got the question from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. He says that meaning tends to last and happiness doesn't last. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's a good one. Happiness can come and go. Meaning is deeper.
Does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating it?
Oh my God. I think bubbling away. Bubbling away. It's there. It's within all of us.
Yeah.
You just have to find it.
It's good. What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
Speed of thought.
There's no right or wrong answers, but that one you got right. Probably because you read McLuhan. McLuhan's the one who taught me. Speed of thought is faster than speed of light. But you know that 80% of people, 90% say speed of light is faster.
No.
Yeah.
They're not feeling
it. Audre Lorde, the poet, said, you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Her colleague, Yvonne Rainer, said, oh, you can if you expose the tools. What new tool do you suggest? And it doesn't have to be tangible.
What new tool to dismantle the master's house?
Well, you're answering a question with a question. First of all, you win because that's what this series is all about. But it's basically, Peter, I open some of these questions with cute quotes. It doesn't mean you have to apply it. I'm basically asking you, what tool do you most gravitate towards? And you can apply the word new if you want, and you can apply the words dismantling the master's house.
You know, I started my filmmaking career at the National Film Board of Canada at a studio called Challenge for Change, which grew out of Saul Alinsky's teachings in Chicago. He was a social activist, and the purpose of the films being made at Challenge for Change were they were tools for change. The films were the tools for change, for changing society, and I'm still trying to do that in my own little way. So I think film is a terrific tool for dismantling the master's house.
Totally agree. We're going to get into film soon. toy do you gravitate towards? So I asked people this tool question, and then someone said, well, what about a toy? So is there a toy you gravitate towards?
I'm not sure what a toy is. I love playing the piano, but that's not a toy. That's an instrument, a beautiful instrument. I don't know. The pencil, is that a toy?
Yeah, well, both of those, piano and pencil, can be. It's you put the words in the context you want. I would say both of those could be considered toys.
And tools for change. Anyway, I don't know.
What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Well, these days, depends on the day. These days, I worry about the state of democracy, especially in the United States. I do worry deeply about this sort of creeping fascism. There's a very good article in the Atlantic yesterday about finally using the word fascist.
Yeah. It's a heavy moment. And
it is.
McLuhan learned from Ezra Pound that artists are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, so we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So, Peter, I asked you the question Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
Oh, that's a good question. Some people ignore them, and some people eventually wake to them. I mean, it's the writing on the wall. The words of the prophets are written on the subway walls, as Paul Simon put it. I think eventually people will respond. It's the poets and the artists who you want to listen to, and maybe the filmmakers too.
Yeah, but that's well put. But why do just some people ignore the deeper message to film, the deeper message to art, music? Why do some people ignore that?
It's a good question. Inability to change, get stuck in ruts, get deeper down, waist deep in the great big muddy.
That's a great line. That will get you kicked off at TV.
Pete Seeger, right?
Pete Seeger.
I met Pete Seeger once. I was so honored to meet him in a friend's kitchen in Montreal when he was there. One day, I'd love to make a film about Pete Seeger's time in Canada, because he would often come up to Canada and tour across the country, especially during those McCarthy years, right? When he was not welcome.
Well, dude, that's amazing. Because I mean, we're going to get into film after some of these more philosophicals are.
It'll get easier.
Just a real good quick tangent on Pete Seeger. The doc on Pete Seeger is pretty good, but it's the goal of a documentarian is not to tell someone how to specifically think, but to encourage them to think. And Yoshi, Pete's wife, said, quit whitewashing my husband. It's like Pete Seeger's a perfect human being. Where are you going to find any faults? But again, she knew he had some, you don't want to whitewash. And that's what happens with most of these docs these days.
Yeah, they make them into saints.
It's a whitewash. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a hard thing. But do artists have moral obligation?
Absolutely. I think we all have moral obligations, artists and non-artists, but artists perhaps even more. Absolutely. Yeah. We all should be trying to make the world a better place. I don't know who said, if you want to make a revolution, do what you can do best.
It's good. I like that. I agree. I use that all the time. Let's make the world a better place. It sounds like a Hallmark card or something, but that's the bottom line. Why not? It's a no-brainer.
Of course.
Are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
Old ideas can drag us down. We've got to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Be open to new ideas.
Yeah. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever, or one of them?
That's a lovely. I just made a film a couple of years ago on Margaret Atwood, and my first question to her in our big interview was, "What's your first memory, Margaret?" She remembered snow. She grew up in Ottawa. I grew up in Ottawa. I remembered those big snow banks and the beauty of falling snow. Looking out the window as a little boy, at the flurries coming down.
That's beautiful. You know, the Margaret Atwood story I love is she went to buy McLuhan's first book, Mechanical Bride, out of the window in his basement because he had some. You know that story, right? Yeah,
Good story.
it's a good story. Is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
Well, it can be either, can be both. Depends on you. You know, I think it's a blessing to be able to remember. Absolutely.
Yeah,
But
most people.
I guess if you're remembering horrific things, it can also drag you down. But in general, I think memory's a blessing. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. Most people go like this. Well, it's a blessing. And then they pause and they go, well, it could be a curse. But then I do occasionally get people, they just go, curse, period. That's all they say. No, it's both. Tell me someone within your immediate family who had an impact on you, and what was that impact?
Oh, wow. Well, my mother and my father, of course, probably had the biggest impact on me, right?
Well, what's the main thing you got from your mom and the main thing you got from your dad?
Oh, wow. Perseverance from both of them. I mean, they both made it through the war in various ways. And I don't know, being kind and being gentle from my mom, for sure. I love playing tennis with my mom.
What'd you mainly get from your dad then?
Perseverance, strength,
Yeah.
and curiosity, right? He had the most wonderful library.
Beautiful.
The 7 Pillars of Wisdom, I remember. He had the beautiful first editions.
Wow. Same question, Peter. Outside your immediate family, someone who had an impact on you, and what was that impact?
Oh, well, my wife, Linda Lee, she opened up whole worlds to me. We came from very different side of the tracks, and she opened me, to many different experiences that I probably wouldn't have had otherwise.
How many years were you together?
20.
Wow.
Sorry.
How do you explain that longevity?
Well, I wish we were still together. She passed away from breast cancer. So we'd still be together if she lived.
But having 20 years together with someone, how would you explain that longevity, staying together for 20?
Oh, what's the secret of staying together? Being honest with each other, talking things out, laughing a lot. Humor is very important in relationships. Not taking yourself too seriously.
Agree with you completely. Really good. Did your parents raise you a particular religion?
Well, we went to Anglican church, on Sunday school and all that, but it wasn't heavy-handed. But I guess I believe in Christian ideals, but they're same sort of ideals in all religions, actually. I'm kind of a pantheist now.
Do you pray?
Well, sort of, I guess. You know what my cathedral is? My church is the white pine forest. I have a place on a lake just 2 hours from here, and I spend as much time up there as I can. And the trees are my brothers.
Oh, that's really well put. And so if God does exist, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
If God exists. As some sort of being or deity or spirit. I don't know. I hope that someone would say that I've made a contribution,
Yeah.
you know, help make the world a little bit of a better place.
Beautiful. Do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
Oh, I don't know. It seems like there are people who are evil, who have evil instincts and intentions, mass murderers. It's hard to imagine. I made a film on the genocide in Rwanda following the Canadian General Romeo Dallaire, who was in charge of the UN peacekeeping force. And he really felt he encountered evil. He wrote a book called Shake Hands with the Devil, and we entitled our film that the same way. So I
Yeah.
think there is evil.
Well, the real question, Peter, here is how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And I'll set it up. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the mob and the samurai. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Yes, sir.
JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So it's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
I think you have to get to know. I don't like the word enemy. People
Yeah.
people that you disagree with, or people that disagree with you. I think it's good to talk to them and try to figure them out. I remember the Pope met in prison with that guy who tried to kill him, and just sat down with him, and talked to him, and tried to understand him.
It's really well put, because Nassim Taleb said, games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is.
You're right.
Gregory Bateson says, if the criminal gets caught, does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff? Or does he go, oh, I did something morally and socially wrong? So again, a lot of prompts. The basic question is, does punishment work?
Never worked for me. My brother remembers my parents sending me to my room if I was a bad boy, and they could never really punish me because he'd hear me in my room laughing and playing and enjoying myself. So I'm not sure how well punishment worked for me. Putting people in jail for years, I guess, I don't know. Does it help them? Does it help bring them back? That's a question I don't have the answer to.
It's a hard one. I mean, rehabilitation, can you reform people? And then we have what's called the prison industrial complex, where it's just this big business,
Sure.
So James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin 100 years ago. He basically checked out. He said, this is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree? Years later, Faulkner said, sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
That's a good point. No, I think going to a theater and experiencing emotions and seeing how other people live, and I think it's very useful, helpful to make us broader, wider, more intelligent people.
Yeah. And Peter, tell us, just kind of walk us through the tipping point where you said, filmmaking is my calling. Are you, what are you seeing growing up, and where are you going? Oh, I'm going to go into high school and start making films, or college. Where's that tipping point where you go, that's my calling?
Yeah, good question. I guess it was at university, because when I entered university, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But those were the 60s, right? We were all trying to stop the war, and There was the civil rights movement and the women's movement. There were so many important things happening, and I took a film course at university, and the fellow who started the film studies program at Queen's University was wonderful, Peter Harcourt. He thought you can't really understand film unless you make films. So he encouraged us all to, he would always take some money away from what he was supposed to be using to bring in another Ingmar Bergman film, and he'd buy another lens for the camera or something. So we had this little guerrilla group of filmmakers. I just fell in love with it, and the first significant film I made, was an attempt to politicize students at our university as to how it was on the other side of the tracks, on the other side of the street, Princess Street, where most people were living on welfare, living in poverty, and that was the beginning of my film. But that little film got me a job at the NFB as an editor, National Film Board of Canada in Montreal.
Yeah, really good. I'm glad you told me that, because you've had an immense career making so many great docs on I.F. Stone, Robbie Robertson, Buffy St. Marie, Glenn Gould, and then all your political docs. I mean, your active political activism is really amazing and inspiring So a screenwriting teacher told me great art or great film is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Kubrick says the opposite. Great film is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process making films?
I'm not keen on films with narration where you have a voice of God or the voice of the filmmaker telling people, leading people through. I'd much rather reveal the person that they are experiencing in the film. So my films are kind of an attempt to allow people behind the scenes into the real levers of power, what's really happening in the world, not superficially what feels like power.
And Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. How much are you thinking of your potential viewer when you're making your film?
Right. I try not to, but I end up having to, in a way. I mean, I think if you really care about what you're doing and you've made enough films as I have, you have faith that what you care about, other people will care about too. So you just have to make a film from the heart, films that you really deeply care about, and invariably there's an audience for that.
Peter, you might have just answered the next question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. McLuhan says everything we invent extends some humanness. Knife and fork extends our teeth. Shutter and a camera, the projector extends our eyelid. And maybe even non-tangible, say religion or philosophy, extends consciousness. What does the moving image camera extend for you? What humanness?
Revelation, uncovering, shining a bright light into dark places. That's the value of the camera to me.
Yeah. That's amazing. Revelation, because two things McLuhan said. One is, are you an optimist or a pessimist? He goes, I'm an apocalypse. We're fucked. And he didn't say the words fuck, but he said he knew that the etymological breakdown of the word apocalypse means to reveal. Just what you said, revealing. And then they asked Marshall, what does film extend? He says, most people say your eye or your memory. He says your foot because you're traveling.
Well, he liked to play with words.
Yeah. Well, let's
another great Canadian. There you go. Margaret Atwood, Marshall McLuhan, Louis B. Mayer.
You got a lot of them. There's a lot. and so let's just jump into films, especially, I mean, your documentary output is huge, and you've done it. So the first thing is I know you mentioned Frederick Wiseman, and he called his films reality fiction. Alan King, who's sort of the Canadian Wiseman, called his actuality dramas. And
Right.
Ricky Leacock called them historical fantasies. So all three of these are sort of defining their documentary filmmaking with two binaries. I
Right.
mean, how do you process that? Reality fiction, actuality dramas, and historical fantasies.
Well, just reality wouldn't be very interesting. You'd just be watching grass grow. Um, so editing is important in all these filmmakers' work. Wiseman, Ricky Leacock, everyone, and we have to edit reality to tighten it up and dramatize it to some degree. But as long as you're true, I think, to the intention and true to the emotional core of it, then you're not fictionalizing reality.
Yeah. Because the other thing is when they divided the meanings of direct cinema and cinema verite. So
Right.
I know it's a fine line, but direct cinema is the Maisel brothers, Leacock, Pennebaker, and Wiseman fly in on the wall.
Right.
And then cinema verite is Vertov and Jean Rouch and Oppenheimer fly in the soup. Are you are you a little more fly on the wall or a little more fly in the soup?
I don't know. I like the idea of being a fly on the wall, of becoming so much a part of the wall or the furniture that people kind of forget you're there, and they just do what they're doing. They would be doing that anyway, whether you were there or not. I like that notion, but it's almost impossible. You have to catch people when they're in a crisis or doing something that's so intense that they do ignore you or block you out, and then you get the essence.
Well, you brought up the word true, and I really want to delve into that because Herzog wrote his big manifesto, and he said, well, there's 4 truths in experimental film in documentary filmmaking. Ecstatic truth is what he claimed he did. That's when you have a revelation or epiphany like a monk. It does not have it doesn't have to agree with facts. 2, physical truth. He called that's like Michael Moore. You have a belly laugh, physical. 3, emotional truth. That's like Ken Burns. You watch Ken Burns with your parents, and everybody cries. And then 4, and then 4 is intellectual truth. That's like Chris Marker or Agnes Varda. Of those 4, any thoughts on those 4? Ecstatic truth, physical truth, emotional truth, and intellectual truth.
Gee, I don't know. You're getting too philosophical for me now, too intellectual for me. I just work from the heart or the gut. I don't know, my friend. It's all about emotion for me. That's what filmmaking is.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's emotional truth. I mean, but I think you're being a political filmmaker. That's what really gets me is something that I think is a huge challenge. We'll go to Shelby Foote said, "A fact is not a truth until you love it." What do you think of that?
Until you what?
Love it. LOVE. A fact is not truth until you love it. Any thoughts on that?
Oh my God, Gerry. I'm not quite sure what that means.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure what that means either. That's why I ask people about it. Well, then how about I.F. Stone? You did a doc on I.F. Stone. He said the truth as I see it.
Yeah, but then when you get into this business of people have their own truth, there is truth. There's, the Holocaust did happen. Trump did lose the 2020 election. There are certain things that are truthful facts that you can't have your own truth.
Well, then how about Louis Buñuel saying, "I'm for anyone who seeks the truth, but I part ways when they claim they found it."
Right.
How do you process that one?
I very much agree with that. sentiment. Yeah, life is a journey, and life is you don't find, in the end, you don't really find anything, but you keep trying, keep striving, keep moving forward.
That's funny because I always use the Sidney Lumet quote. He's a socially socially active filmmaker. He said, films can't do diddly squat, but it ain't going to keep me from trying.
I love Sidney Lumet.
Yeah, I mean, it's important.
Yeah,
But everybody agrees, Peter, with the Buñuel quote, until one guy finally said, that's bullshit. If I'm going to seek something, it's because I want to find it. So I morphed it into the question, and you sort of anticipated this. If the journey is more important than the destination, then why do we have to name or seek a destination?
Oh yeah, you need a destination. You need to be inspired for something, for some purpose. You need to have a purpose at the end of the rainbow. Absolutely, to keep getting up in the morning.
But then, the artists who changed the world forever, or they had a big impact, were in Paris in the 1920s, Hemingway, Picasso, and Joyce, and they just sat around at coffee houses and slacked up. It's called psychogeography. It's called flaneur. They just wandered aimlessly, like Joyce would say, and you could have an epiphany in everydayness.
You spent time in Ann Arbor. I remember sleeping on the couches of the Student Union building in Ann Arbor on my way to the Days of Rage in 1969 in Chicago. So that was a time when, we felt at our little university in Ontario, we needed to go into the center of the storm and find out what was happening and be part of it. March to end the war.
Yeah. No, Ann Arbor was an important place for that.
Sure was.
But in continuing this discussion on just humans seeking the truth,
right?
Schopenhauer says all truths pass through 3 stages. First, it's ridiculed. Second, it's violently opposed. And third, it's accepted as being self-evident. I knew that all along.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't the truth always changing? That's the basic. How do you deal with that?
Well, I don't know if the truth is always. I think there is morality, a deep moral truth that doesn't change. That is deep in our hearts. Martin Luther King understood that, and that's what we strive for. So I don't think that changes.
That's good, Peter. Where did you get that moral truth is important? From the way your parents raised you, or on your own?
I don't know, maybe a bit of both. Where my parents raised me and living and growing up in the 60s, the Students for a Democratic Society and the March on Washington, all these things were happening that were so dramatic and exciting and important. And I became a folk singer, in the style of Phil Oakes, and sang all those songs. That's which led eventually into me becoming a filmmaker.
Beautiful. I love that. Now we got like Billy Bragg's song about Minneapolis, Bruce Springsteen, and even Jesse Wells. These people are keeping up that folk tradition beautifully.
Neil Young, to add a Canadian to your list.
There you go, another Canadian. But here's sort of the flip on truth, and that is Marcel Proust's question: on what occasion do you lie?
Right. That's a good question, hey? Flattery. Flattery for a purpose, perhaps. That would be maybe one purpose, one reason to lie a little bit. As long as it's not a deep lie. It's a lie for a good cause. It's a slippery slope, though.
Yeah.
Lying. Very
I like when they ask Tom Waits, on what occasion do you lie? He says, I didn't know I needed an occasion. But here's another great, Yeah, here's another great singer, Eartha Kitt.
Oh, wow.
Truth is a theory that is constantly being disproved. Only lies, it seems, go on forever.
Hmm. I don't know. Are we going to keep going in this vein, Gerry? Just philosophical questions and
Well, no, I mean we
quoting
can
great people?
we can go wherever you want. I mean, these are just like prompts to get us to talk. But I mean,
Oh,
I think truth in the documentary world is to me a real big thing, because I think it boils down to um, something like Crumb, the documentary on Crumb.
right.
It doesn't tell you how to think, and then it's sort of like, here's the portrait, now you decide. But
Hmm.
the fact that Terry picked the subject of Crumb was a bias right there. Once you pick the
Of
subject,
course.
and if you hold your camera this way or
Right.
that way, that's a bias, or
Yes,
that's how that goes, how you edit, the way Frederick Wiseman edits his films compared to Michael Moore. Now, Michael Moore, when he showed Fahrenheit 9/11 at the Cannes Film Festival, Jean-Luc Godard came up to him and says, "Dude, this film's going to help Bush get elected." Now, it didn't help Bush get elected per se, but it galvanized pro-Bushers.
right.
So since then, and you were making him before Michael was, we've had this slew of political documentaries. Do they more in general more activate or more pacify people?
I think all documentaries are political, in various ways. Some are much more subtle in what they're saying and what they're portraying than others. But overtly political documentaries, I know they can help galvanize people and organize. We made a quite an important film a couple of years ago called Plastic People, which is about the hidden danger of microplastics in our bodies and leading to cancers and all sorts of other infertility, etc. And that's a political film, you could say, but it doesn't hit you over the head. It just provides you with information, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I found that, I have a lecture that's called How Sheila Nevins and PBS Hijacked the Revolution, because yuppies sit at home and watch, the Weather Underground on PBS and go, "That's great," or Electric Car or Inconvenient Truth. They go, "That's great," and then they don't do anything.
Well, hopefully these types of films do lead people to wanting to do something. All documentaries now, they have these activists involved in campaigns that come out of the films. That's a very important ingredient in all these films now, is the activist stuff that grows from. So the film's just the beginning.
Yeah, Cindy Sheehan said, she camped out in front of Bush's house and protested the war, and she goes, "We're preaching to the converted. We're preaching to the choir, and there ain't even a choir." I mean, me and you can laugh at that, but that's sort of sad. We hope that action, and this filmmaker John Jost, he's made a lot of films in America, and a kid went up to him once and says, "Your film inspired me to join the Occupy movement." He says, "Don't blame me," because it's sort of like Dylan letting go. Masters of War is a great song, but he doesn't want to take credit to helping give the soundtrack to a revolution.
Right.
And yeah,
I think I found that many a time we have screenings of films and afterwards really good discussions, and I hope people leave the theater thinking, what can I do, and getting some ideas for what they can do
yeah.
to make the world a better place. And I've had people come up to me years later after my films in Nicaragua or wherever, and thank me for helping them understand what was happening there and help them get involved in movements and activism.
Yeah, I saw the film, the the Enron documentary, The Richest Guys in the Room or whatever. I went up to the producer at the end of the film and I goes, dude, your film is like a training film for up and coming capitalists. You know, you get your hands slapped and you get thrown in a country club jail. And he literally went, yeah, I guess so. So, I mean, you can't control how people are going to,
No, of course not.
but
One film
it
that,
is good when you get that kind of feedback.
it's great. One film that meant a lot to me. You asked about my, you know, things that moved me as a kid growing up and getting involved in filmmaking was Peter Davis' film Hearts and Minds. I don't know if you know that film. I think it won the Oscar that year and was very, very important to me.
That's you have ESP because I started programming films in the mid 70s in Ann Arbor, Michigan at University of Michigan. And that was the first film I ever programmed. And I have such pride to say because it is an amazing film. And Peter Davis said an important line, and I'm curious your thoughts on it. He said, the most important thing a documentary director is to say is stop shooting. How do you gauge that sense, you know, when you're going to
One of my mentors, heroes of the documentary, is Donald Britton, whose motto was get a good story, get a good crew, and get the hell out of the way.
yeah
You know, let things happen that are happening, and then if they are a good crew, they can capture those moments. And
yeah
so much. I mean, Donald Britton and I, we shoot so we can edit, right? It's really, these films are created in the editing room in so many ways.
yeah well Peter, that's the New York Times had that article several years ago, and now documentaries say written by. In there, the article was really saying that a documentary is written by the editor. You know, there might be a text that's being read over, like you said earlier, narration, but they don't write the lines of the people who are talking. But the editing is so important. So perfectly leads. You have major ESP because I spoke with Michael Apted over 40 years ago, and I said, why do rock video editors feel so obliged to edit fast? And most people don't know Abel Gance invented rapid montage in 1922. And I really flourished, this rapid editing flourished in the 80s with MTV, to the point where Marty Scorsese said, I cut my films faster because of MTV. So Michael Apted told me, because we've learned to take in information faster. So my question is, and it's asked with a bias, can we literally learn to take in information faster, or are we just brainwashed to believe we can?
No, I think we have learned to take in information faster and to multitask and, do several things at the same time. But I still like reading physical newspapers on, paper and magazines and books rather than reading them on a screen. I think
Yeah.
it's and not having a lot of other things happening at the same time. I also like listening to books, especially when they're read by the author.
That's beautiful. But you again, you anticipate the next question. Is it literally possible to multitask?
Maybe for some. Maybe for some. I don't know. It's what the quality of what you're receiving and retaining when you're multitasking. Some maybe can do it better than others.
Well, I'm curious. There was a line I read in the LA Times many years ago, and your thoughts on it. Film as an art form has been swindled by capitalism.
Yeah, well, perhaps. I mean, there's always been capitalism, hasn't there? And there's always been good and bad films. So I don't know. Despite whatever you mean by capitalism, there'll always be films, and I'm proud to have made a lot of films. Living in a capitalist society that I hope have been useful and not been swindled.
Yeah. Craig Baldwin told me, yeah, and it's our job to swindle it back. I'm like, I don't want to turn into my enemy, but it is. We all live in it. We've never lived in a non-capitalistic society.
No, not at all. That's a good way of putting it. It's our job to swindle it back.
I'm going to tell Craig you said that. He'll love to hear that.
Balance. They used to teach in journalism schools balance, fairness, and objectivity. I mean, it's impossible to be objective, as you said earlier. As soon as you pick up a camera and start looking through a viewfinder, you're forming the framing of something. You're using subjective reasoning. It's not like a camera up in the corner of the room that's just recording everything in a wide shot. So, of course, it's impossible to be objective. And what's important is to acknowledge that you can't be objective, and that everything that you put up on the screen or put on television is somebody's point of view.
Well, that's beautiful, Peter, because I was going to say, Jean Rouch said, if you put a camera between me and the subject, it's more real than if there's no camera.
Huh.
And that's pretty amazing, because I thought the Oscar for best cinematography should have went to the woman who shot the Floyd killing, George Floyd killing. She held that cell phone for 8 minutes or 7 minutes.
Wow.
And she said that it gave her nightmares because she felt guilty that she didn't put her cell phone down and help him. Right. And it's like, girl, if you would have helped them, they would have killed you too. You changed the world with your 7 minutes of footage, in holding that steady.
I made a film with and about Ariel Dorfman, who was an advisor to Salvador Allende, the socialist leader of Chile. And when the coup came and Pinochet bombed and took all those people prisoner, and everyone was supposed to run, all the people around Allende was supposed to run to La Moneda and protect him and protect the democracy that they'd created. Ariel didn't get there. He couldn't get there. There were soldiers with guns preventing him from getting there. And he hadn't been called early in the morning and told to come. And he later, after it was all over, asked the man who made those calls, why didn't you call me? And the gentleman said, well, Ariel, someone had to live to tell the story.
Yeah. Amazing.
So I think that's what that woman did, who kept her camera rolling on George Floyd getting beaten. And that's what filmmakers do. They're the ones that have to live to tell the story.
Yeah. It's good, really well put there, Peter, because is there a difference between storytelling and narrative? And if there is, what's the difference?
I don't know. Those are just words. Every filmmaker is a storyteller. Every artist is a storyteller. I'm making a film now about a Newfoundland artist, and the subtitle is "The Storyteller's Gaze." I mean, where every piece of art that he creates tells a story.
Yeah, that's funny, because this guy worked with Dylan told me that there's a difference between storytelling and narrative, and the difference is that narrative doesn't lie.
I don't know. We're all liars.
Well, Hollis Frampton,
as long as it's for a good cause.
Yeah. Hollis Frampton says narrative is born among the animal necessities of the spirit because we're waiting to die. So I came up with the question, Peter, can you forget to die?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to forget to die every day, every minute.
Yeah.
or you would die, or you would go into the deep depression and curl up in a fetal position on the couch. No, we have to ignore death and just keep moving forward.
That's good. What informed your framing aesthetic? How you frame with the camera?
What informed my aesthetic?
Yeah, like how did you form your framing aesthetic? What do you think is the roots of how you frame things with the movie camera?
Yeah. I'm not a cinematographer, although I take a lot of photographs now, pretty well, like all of us with our iPhones. So I don't know if you mean framing aesthetic as a physical thing in terms of framing an image, or if you mean framing more in a philosophical way.
More in the physical, yeah.
Oh, in the physical. How do you frame? Oh boy. Well, I don't know. It depends what you're shooting. I like extreme close-ups and extreme wide shots. I don't like that middle ground that's sort of boring.
Yeah.
So that's what I encourage my cinematographers to do. But they have their own instincts and aesthetic, and you have to work with the cinematographer who you're simpatico with, who feels what you feel.
Yeah, it's funny. Bruce Bailey, the experimental filmmaker, when I asked him that, he said, Jean Cocteau said, we formed, because I think it's basically from the painters and the photographers that came before us. That's how we learned how to frame. But he said, Jean Cocteau said, we learned our framing aesthetic on the way you put your knife and fork on the dinner table. That's which is funny because we know the history of symmetry, and Robert Frank came along and said, hey, you can frame like this if you want, and so
framing has changed, of course. It used to be 4:3 and now it's 69, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what do you think the motive of the cave artist was?
The motive of the cave artist? Oh yeah, the documentarian. Was he documenting, or she, or was he an artist just sort of feeling emotions? Maybe a little of both, right?
Yeah.
It's beautiful that and some of the art is so beautiful, right?
It's amazing.
God. You don't see, maybe we don't see it because I haven't been in those caves looking around, but we don't see kind of bad cave art. Cave art that's not beautiful in some way. It's interesting.
Well, it's sort of like what's his it's playful. It's like there is no motive. Maybe they're just like Marshall said it best. The Balinese have no word for art. They do everything as well as they can.
That's it.
So they might not have been thinking I'm making art. Now I'm, doing this. It's just part of like breathing. Right, but are you aware of
documenting motion with brushstrokes?
Yeah,
in a cave with a torch for a light. It's extraordinary how those cave artists were able to document motion or see motion.
No, that's a really good way to put it. Document motion with brushstrokes. Yeah. But did you know of this new documentary on Brian Eno that came out? Every screening is different.
Ending. Yes, I heard that.
In Brian, who helped promote McLuhan with when they started re-releasing Marshall's books, they got him to say, Marshall McLuhan changed the world with one sentence. But here's the Brian Eno quote that I thought was great. Play is how children learn. Art is how adults play.
I edited and partly produced 2 films on Moshe Safdie, the great architect, and he said, all children are born as architects, and yet but the problem is when they get into the educational system, it beats that those artistic instincts out of most of them.
Yeah, but it didn't beat it out of Louis Kahn. Did you see the
No.
Louis Kahn's documentary? Is so a classic. That is okay. So, what's more important, Peter, conviction or compromise?
Oh, it depends. I think you have to have deep convictions, but be prepared to compromise when necessary. You know, if all you have is conviction, there'll probably be wars. So we have to also learn to compromise. We have to put ourselves in the other person's shoes. And, you know, that was Robert McNamara said, you know, that was the lesson in the end of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Put yourself in the other man's shoes.
That's McNamara said that?
Said that to me in a film I made at WGBH at PBS about the Cuban Missile Crisis.
That's pre Errol Morris's Fog of War.
You know, at the end, we were packing up from this interview I did with McNamara, and the crew was packing up their equipment, putting it away. We'd finished our talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis, and he started talking to me about Vietnam, and I thought, oh, he wants to talk about the Vietnam War now. It's finally sort of time for him to come to this. And, you know, I couldn't kind of instantly unpack the camera and ask him for another hour or two. Didn't feel right. And then a few years later, out comes this film, The Fog of War. I said, oh, fuck, this better be a really good film or I'm going to kill myself. Fortunately, it was a fantastic film.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Peter. I avoided talking about this, and now I really want to bring it up. I know Errol Morris is a great filmmaker. He's made some good films. I think Fog of War is important, and he has a good head on his shoulder. But I think what I always wanted to ask him was, dude, you humanized a war criminal. And I know it's like you can't, it's hard to not trap him by asking him. Because it's like, no, I was just let him stick his foot in his own mouth. It's like the Rumsfeld documentary Errol made. It sounds like McLuhan talking for 90 minutes. But anyways, my wife's dad, he worked with Cesar Chavez and the Panthers and as a Freudian Marxist and an activist. And I told him that, and he says, dude, humanizing anyone is good.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. You say he's a war criminal. Yes, he's also a human being.
Yeah.
So
really good.
I think Errol Morris did us a great favor.
Okay, now you've accomplished a lot, Peter. How do you rate these three elements in your accomplishments? Luck, skill, and ambition. What played the biggest role, second and third?
Oh boy, luck, skill, and ambition. Well, they're all a bit intertwined. Let me tell you a little story if you don't mind. I went to Rwanda and made a film about a Canadian NGO helping working with the 500,000 orphans of the genocide. And while we were there shooting, our cameraman had a Canadian flag on the side of his camera, as we often do. Differentiate ourselves from Americans. Sometimes that's helpful. And people would come up to us on the street and say, oh, you're from Canada. Do you know General Dallaire? And I didn't know General Dallaire. But as soon as I got home, I thought, geez, who is this guy? I started reading about him. He was writing a book. He was suffering from PTSD. He was tried to commit suicide. And so I thought, I've got to make a film about this man, General Romeo Dallaire, and see the Rwanda genocide through his eyes. So I wrote him letters. I sent him faxes. I went through the military. I went through every way of trying to get through to him. He wasn't returning. He wasn't getting back to me. And then one day, I was in an airport, Toronto airport, and I have this little card in my wallet. It gets you into the first class lounge. It's called the Maple Leaf Club Lounge, if it's Air Canada. And I got in the little elevator to take me to the lounge. Even when you're traveling on the cheapest ticket, right? You're in the first class lounge, going up to this lounge. And who gets on the elevator? Romeo Dallaire with pulling his little rolly bag, and he's all by himself. And there's just the two of us in the elevator. And I say to him, General Dallaire, I've been trying to reach you for a few months, and would you have a few minutes? I'd love to talk to you. And we sat down, had a drink. We both missed our flights. We got so intimately involved in talking to each other, and the rest is history. We made a fantastic film, which won an Emmy Award, and I think was a very important film. Shake Hands with the Devil. It won the Audience Award at Sundance. So that's a combination of all three of those things: perseverance, luck, and ambition. So I think it's all three at the same time often.
It's really well put, Peter. That was a great story. I appreciate that, because the question originally was, is ambition based more on fear or joy? 80% of people would say fear. And then I read Friedkin's book, and he said, in Hollywood, skill and luck have nothing to do with it. It's all ambition.
Yeah,
so when I give
a lot of chutzpah, that's for sure.
When I give those three options, some people go, nah, I don't go with any of those. It could be persistence, a destiny, purpose, necessity. So T.S. Eliot said poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
Oh my God. What language? You mean French or English, or do you mean some other?
No, I mean more metaphorically, yeah.
What language is my inner dialogue in? I don't think it's fear. I think it's a trying to attain beauty,
Yeah.
with my work. It's very important when you make these films, these political films, these films to try to make the world a better place, that they also be beautiful, that they also touch people in the heart, and otherwise you're just sort of beating people over the head. They have to be drawn into your argument, right, in a poetic way.
So it's total McLuhan. He said there's no difference between education and entertainment. Whatever pleases teaches more effectively.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So
I'm glad you keep quoting McLuhan, another great Canadian, of course. He had an office not far from here at the University of Toronto. Great man. Not really well understood, I don't think.
No, it's hard to get McLuhan. I didn't want to go off on McLuhan too much, but it's hard to get him because he laid it out perfectly. If you want to understand me, you have to know all of James Joyce and all of the symbolists. And most McLuhanites
and the Bible.
Well, but most McLuhanites, I know the McLuhanites that you interviewed for your film, most McLuhanites don't really get Marshall, but it's all right because he nailed it. He said a half a truth is still a lot of a truth. But
you've got all your McLuhanisms at hand. That's very good.
I've studied him deeply, and I had the best teachers. So the two of my film heroes say, ignore yourself. Jonas Mekas says there is no self-expression. And Cecil Taylor, the great jazz pianist, says, I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me. Is art making, filmmaking, more self-expression or more your vehicle for whatever technologies, cultures, and environments are dominant?
Well, it has to come through you, but you're shaping it as it's coming through you. I mean,
yeah,
that's why for documentaries, especially, the editing room is so important. Films can go in a 1,000 different ways in the cutting room. And I take a long time to edit my films because you have to think about it and watch it again, see how it's feeling, how it's working for you and for others. So, yeah, I shoot so I can edit.
It's beautiful. Can art making be egoless?
Some people have a lot more ego in their work than others. And often the ones that have too much doesn't work, right? So I don't know. No, it can't be ego-less, but there can be a little less ego, not an absence of ego. I think that's impossible.
Is perception reality?
Perception?
Yeah. Is perception reality?
I don't know what reality is. Reality is what you make of. Reality is all sorts of different things for different people. So you perceive something in a different way than I do, and it's your reality and it's my reality as well.
Yeah. Lily Tomlin said reality is just a collective hunch.
That's nice.
Okay. Tell me one major element, Peter, of
Hmm.
your creative filmmaking sensibility that's changed and one major element that's stayed the same.
Oh, that's interesting. Over my 50 years of
Yeah.
filmmaking, what's
Yeah.
changed? What's changed? I think I've appreciated more and more um, the need for what I just said, the need
Yeah.
for films to be really beautiful,
Yeah.
as well as being politically powerful, and having a point of view. You know, my mother would never want to watch a film about people killing each other in Rwanda, uh, but she might watch a film about a Canadian hero who went to Rwanda and tried to stop the genocide. You know, so that's the way of making a film for my mother. That's it's about the same subject, but it's made in a different way.
Beautiful. And so Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength rather than we're normally taught to overcome a weakness. Tell
Hmm.
me a weakness you turned into a strength.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I was very shy as a kid. I had buck teeth. I was awkward. I wasn't very good with for girls. I I would go to a party and I'd immediately go outside, not to smoke a joint, although that's some of what we were doing out on the porch, but just to get out of the sweaty mayhem of a noise of the party. I've always felt that I was kind of on the outside looking in at things, which makes perhaps for a good documentary filmmaker on the edges of things. And and that's often I think why Canadians are good documentary filmmakers and make very good films about the political situation in the United States because we're just slightly outside. We're still close to you, but we're not inside you. Um, so I think I've learned to overcome that shyness to a large extent. I still spend a lot of time at parties outside outside on the porch looking in, but I've learned to be able to converse with people, look people in the eye, and not be as shy as I used to be.
Well, I really appreciate your time. We just got a few more here, Peter, and you haven't been shy at all. You're really articulate and concise. Fill in the blank. Anger can be a productive emotion when
Channeled into action.
my friend worked with Robin Williams writing comedy. I said, can satire be destructive? He says, that's the job of satire. And, and I say, well, you know, if me or you do a cartoon in a certain country and they kill us, some people think dying is destructive. Swift compared satire to a mirror in which people could see every face but their own. What's the function of satire?
Hmm. Well, I think it helps you make your point without being obvious. It's very useful. It's like using, as Michael Moore does so well, he uses comedy in his films. Um, you know, that great moment in, is it Fahrenheit 9/11 when he talks about the bin Ladens leaving America on planes that were the only planes that were allowed to fly right after 9/11 were the
Oh,
bin
yeah.
Ladens flying home. And on the soundtrack, he puts, "We gotta get out of this place." The Animals song. He was brilliant with comedy.
Yeah.
He is brilliant using comedy and satire to good effect. And this filmmaker, I work a lot with Fred Peabody, who made the film on Marshall McLuhan and the sort of children of Marshall McLuhan's of today. Uh, is very adept at using. He uses clips from Hollywood feature films, commercials, TV shows, news,
Yeah.
to help tell the story and lighten it up and make it entertaining while also making his point.
Yeah, that's very McLuhan. In fact, you almost quoted Billy Wilder. He said, "Make the subtleties obvious."
There you go.
But I love in Michael Moore's film, someone brought up Bush had all the best lines in his film, and so Bush should have filed a writer's grievance to the screenwriting board. Okay, what's the most significant difference between men and women, physical aside?
Oh my God. It depends. I think it's wrong to make broad brush. I mean, women tend to be more emotional on the share their emotions willingly. But I think that's unfair. I think in different cultures, that's different. And maybe women tend to be more nurturing. They're the ones that birth the child and suckle the child. So that's sort of natural. That's part of their, DNA to be that way. But I don't know. I don't like to make broad brush generalizations like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. I wrote an essay called "Can Art Stop War?" and it's basically based on Maria Gimbutas, the archaeologist who proved there was cultures with no warfare. Most people are brainwashed to believe we're more hardwired to resolve conflict with military or and then we are hardwired to be cooperative and nurturing, like Riane Eisler's book, The Chalice and the Blade, stresses partnership. That's what it's all about, in cooperation. So it goes right into this one, Peter. There's a line that goes, "You create what you resist." Bob Goldthwait, the comedian, morphed it into "You are what you hate." In fact, James Joyce said, "It's a curious thing how your mind is super saturated with the religion in which you say you disbelieve." And Luke Winwell nailed it. He said, "Thank God I'm an atheist." And I'm curious your thoughts, Peter, on this line, "You create what you resist." I'm not saying you, but one creates what one resists. Any thoughts on that?
Well, you need to be resisting something to be able to create anything, I think, probably. You need, for my types of films anyway, that are kind of political films, they need to have a resistant, a sense of struggle to be created. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that answers it fine. Utah Phillips said, "Anarchy is making rules for yourself and not other people." Who's entitled to make the rules?
We need rules. We definitely need. And unfortunately, what's happened in recent years, especially in the United States, is the people in government have lost the sense of the rule of law. It's so essential that there are rules and not just instincts of autocrats governing us. Rules are essential.
In fact, etymologically, the word freedom breaks down to exactly what Utah said, making one's rules for one's own self. What does freedom mean to you now?
Just another word for nothing left to lose.
Yeah.
Who's that? Janice.
Well, it's probably Chris Christopherson wrote it, I think.
Did he write those words?
No, I'm not sure. I should look that up. That's good. Yeah, we should figure that out.
Me and Bobby McGee. What does freedom mean? Is that where's your question?
What does freedom mean to you now?
Yeah. Freedom means to me now. I've become a little more free than I was 50 years ago, in that I can somehow summon the resources, raise the money to freely make the films I want to make. I'm not always successful, but I'm more successful than I was, just because I've been successful. And that, attracts funding for your next project. So I guess that's what freedom is all about, is having the opportunity to do what you really want to do.
What's the difference between rights and responsibilities?
Again, they're interwoven. They're both the yin and yang of the same thing. We have both rights and responsibilities, and we have to respect them both. You can't just have rights, or you can't just have responsibilities. They have to work together. And I think that's important to remind people all the time.
What's the difference between rebellion and revolution?
Rebellion often leads to revolution, right? And I like, as I said earlier, if you want to make a revolution, do what you can do best. But I think we should all be pushing against the man, the autocrat, the system all the time. Systems need to be challenged regularly and constantly. So if that requires revolution, sometimes it does. It did with the Sandinista revolution and with others. Sadly, what we see with the Sandinistas, the government in Rwanda and elsewhere, is so often these revolutions, once the revolutionaries become the leaders, the government leaders, they seemingly somehow more often than not become dictators again. It's sort of sad. So it has to go through that cycle over and over.
Yeah. How do you find peace of mind?
By going to the lake, where I'll be going in a couple of days. I'm there more often than not now, and lying down on my back under a very tall white pine tree, and breathing deeply the pine and the cedar scent, and just feeling the spirit of the forest. That's how I find peace of mind.
Beautiful, Peter. Here's 5 quick Alan Watts questions off the top of your head in just a couple words. 1, who started it all?
Who knows? It's impossible to know.
Yeah, okay. You answered a question with a question. That's what this series is all about. Who knows? But no, are you saying that who knows as a question or who knows as a statement?
Who's on first?
Yeah. Okay. Number 2, Alan Watts. Are we going to make it?
Absolutely. We have to believe that we can. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. 3, where do we put it?
Up, 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 as high as we can.
Beautiful. 4, who's cleaning it up?
We're all responsible for cleaning it up.
5, is it serious?
If it's too serious, then we've lost. A sense of humor is essential.
Yeah, my hero Frank Zappa says, I'm very serious about being not serious.
We're making a film right now about Thompson Highway, who's an Indigenous playwright and musician, and he says we have 3 purposes in life: to laugh, number 2, to laugh, and to laugh.
Oh, that is good. I have to remember that. I love that. Yeah, that's Gurdjieff said, laughter is the reconciliation of yes and no. I like sillies in the middle there. A couple more. If you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
Never give up.
Which way should toilet paper come off the roll, over or under?
It doesn't really matter, but I always have it come down from the top.
Yeah. I'm glad you're laughing. Okay, here's a couple more. If a publisher was going to release your autobiography off the top of your head, what would the title be?
Curiosity.
They want to scent the glue in the binding. What smell?
Pine.
Pine. That's evident. If a statue was built in your honor, where would you want it displayed and what would it be made of?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not that keen on statues. Make it of sand. So
Sand and where?
I don't know. Put it on a beach so that it just becomes part of the universe.
Beautiful. Tell me something. Tell me something good you never had and you never want.
Something good that you never have and you never want.
Yeah, it's good. You never had it, but you never want it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I never want to be super rich. I think
Yeah,
that's a big mistake to want that and or to be it. I think that's a mistake.
that's the three answers I get the most, Peter, are money, fame, and heroin.
Yeah.
Okay, if you were in a vat of vomit up to your neck and someone threw a bag of shit at your face, what would you do?
Duck.
Doc, you know, I got to tell you this. I asked this woman on Venice Boardwalk once that, and she says, I'd take the velocity of the bag of shit and I'd use it to swoop my way out of the vat of vomit. And I said to her, that's the first book that McLuhan ever wrote, Mechanical Bride. He quotes Descent into the Maelstrom by Edgar Allan Poe, and that's exactly what you do. How do you turn a breakdown into a breakthrough?
Brilliant.
So I like that. What's the cultural shift you see developing today that inspires you?
Ah, that's a nice question. That's a fantastic question. The cultural shift among young people, especially, is towards the unity of all mankind to save the earth, to save the planet
Yeah,
from ourselves.
it's beautiful. What's a question that remains unresolved for you?
Hmm. I'm not sure what happens after our bodies die. If there's something more, I hope there is. Somehow, I believe there is.
Yeah, actually, one of my main teachers from Canada told me once, what happens to you after you die is whatever you believe happens to you.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I once asked my chemistry teacher in high school, what happens when you add, I can't remember what the ingredients were, this to this. He said, Peter, whatever happens is supposed to happen.
or it's Paul Krasner saying, I only believe in reincarnation in one of my past lives.
That's nice.
How has filmmaking shaped your behavior?
Oh, totally. How has it shaped my behavior? What's wonderful about filmmaking, especially documentary filmmaking, it's a passport to the world. You get
Yeah,
to see things and meet people that you never would as a tourist going through. You
yeah.
get behind the scenes, you get inside. And so, absolutely, it shaped the world that I've seen.
Couple more and we're done. I really appreciate your time. That's sort of
Yeah,
like
this
goes
is fun. This is a lot of
it's,
fun.
it sort of goes along with what Marshall's saying that film extends your foot. It's a passport to the world. I
That's
always
right.
call it's a magic carpet ride.
That's it. That's it.
So here's Thornton Wilder in
Okay.
1928.
Hmm.
Art is confession. Art is the secret told. But art is not only the desire to tell one's secret, it's the desire to hide it and tell it at the same time.
Hmm.
You've laid your cards on the table for 90 minutes. I'm not insinuating you haven't already answered this. What's it really all about for you?
What's it all about, Alfie? It's about taking advantage of every opportunity. It's about helping those who need a hand up, a leg up. Um, I've been so fortunate. I've been so blessed with all the opportunities I've been given. So, I'm trying to give back as much as I can.
Really good. What gives you the most optimism?
I see it in the kids, who are involved in fighting against climate change, in fighting for democracy. It feels like the beginning of the 60s now again. Well, you saw it on the streets of Minneapolis recently, but it's more than that. It's a worldwide movement to care for our planet.
Really good. And if you have a couple more minutes, I'd love to ask you about your McLuhan film, but if you got to go, I understand.
No, that's fine. By the way, how will this be posted, or where?
Well, it's been on YouTube Live since we started, and as soon as it's done, it's on YouTube on our channel, and I'll send you a link.
Oh, thanks a lot, Jim.
Yeah, but I'm curious, when you were filming the McLuhan film, if you were there when you filmed the interview with Andrew McLuhan.
No, but I've met Andrew. No, the film was directed by Fred Peabody, who's a wonderful Vancouver-based filmmaker. No, I've met Andrew. He's a lovely man. He lives in Prince Edward County, just east of here.
You know, the great story. I know I've had Andrew on several times and know him. The great story with Andrew is he was sort of a punk rocker way back when he was, he fixes furniture. I don't know if he still does that, but he was playing a punk rock show, and the show ends, and in the mosh pit there was a copy of Understanding Media on the floor.
How wonderful!
And then were you there when they interviewed Paulo?
No, I wasn't there. As the executive producer of these films, I don't want to be there. I don't want to get in the way. I don't want the director to feel, oh, what would Peter like? What should I let Peter ask a few questions or something? No. I'll look at the rough cut and make my suggestions at that point.
Right, because there were so many. Because I've had Andrew on, and Doug Rushkoff, I've had him on my podcast. He's really good.
Fantastic.
And there's a bunch of other McLuhan people that sort of get McLuhan. And so I was just curious, maybe you could set me up to interview Fred.
Oh, Fred's genius. His next film is called, which he's going to produce and not direct, actually. The working title is Broken News, The Death of Truth.
Yeah.
Which is, what's happened to journalism, what's happened to truth. Where are we?
Maybe you can hook me up, because I'd love to interview Fred, and I really appreciate your time. Because Peter, the interesting thing was, the first question I asked is, what's the best thing for a human being? And Wilhelm Reich said, the best thing for a human being is another human being. And the last question I ask is, what gives you the most optimism? That's what they asked Groucho Marx at the end of his life, and he said other people. So it's sure been fun spending this time with another person, especially because it was you. Thank you so much, Peter, for your time and energy.
Thank you, Gerry. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and even though I'm going to hit the end broadcast button now, I hope this never ends and we can keep talking forever.
I'd love to. Next time I'm in Venice, I'll give you a call. We can have a drink.
And we'll hang out. I would love that. Thank you so much.